I fully believe in human natural selection. I understand the stove's hot. It's not just fully being an idiot and touching the stove again. It's you going, all right, I understand the stove's really hot and it just burned me. Try pouring some grease on the stove. Simulating natural selection. This video was made for me. Let's go.
This video is about natural selection. If you've watched the previous videos in this series, you've seen these blob creatures live, die, and replicate, but it's been a little bit artificial.
No, I've never seen this channel before. Hopefully it's good content. Seems like it's gonna be, but if you've seen any of my content, you already know. I fully believe in human natural selection. I fully believe that sometimes, bro, the strong have to trample the weak. But even more so, sometimes the weak need to trample themselves, nigga. I've seen too many examples of natural selection pretty much every day on stream or offline. So, yeah, this video, I'm excited. This is made for me.
We just gave each type of creature a replication chance and a death chance, and we saw what happened.
Yeah.
With natural selection, though, we usually can't know precise replication and death chances.
Okay.
Instead, selection comes from interactions between a creature's traits and its environment.
Right.
So in this video, we're going to make a real evolving system by putting our blob creatures into a simple environment and giving them traits.
Bet.
Let's see what we can learn by watching some actual natural selection happen.
Bet. Now, this is obviously going to be the more scientifically accurate version of natural selection. For me, for example, I think natural selection is like, yo, dog, I'm not going to lie. You touched this stove, it was hot. You could turn the stove down. You could just put some gloves on. But nope, no. You said, all right, I understand the stove's hot. It's not just fully being an idiot and touching the stove again. It's you going, all right, I understand the stove's really hot and it just burned me. Try pouring some grease on the stove. You know what I'm saying? And then the logic being, I just really wanted a good burger or some bullshit. I like I'm coming up with one on the fly. This is going to be more so of the, hey, you're a rat. You have glowing red skin. Birds swoop down and they are eating you. Maybe blend in with the fucking dirt on the ground. This is going to be more scientific, and I'm still with it. Let's go.
All right, so what does our environment look like? Creatures will live on this plane, and each morning, food appears on the plane, and the blobs emerge from their homes around the edge to go out and eat the food.
Okay.
Here are the rules. If a blob fails to find any food before running out of energy, it will die. If a blob gets one piece of food and manages to get back home to the edge, it will live on to the next day. And if a blob gets two pieces and gets home, it will survive to the next day and also replicate, adding another creature to the next day.
Okay, bet. So the first thing that you want to learn, given that these are the rules, and I'm assuming the ball's a spot anywhere, maybe it's best for blobs to learn how to either A, just be faster, B, be bigger, so you are giving less blobs room to get there. Or if you can't make any of those adaptations, maybe they learn some kind of ability to kind of helps them even potentially start closer to the center. Like, let's say, like, unless I'm trying to overthink it in the rules state clearly, hey, they got to start at the edge no matter what. But in theory, adaptation would tell you to either move towards starting in the middle or to maybe start underground per se and be able to snipe them down or something like that. Because yeah, at some point it's just going to be the bigger and the baddest win, which I mean, granted that I guess ties to natural selection, but it doesn't necessarily really show adaptability more so than it shows just straight up evolution.
So that's the environment.
Which I guess go hand in hand. It's tricky. I dropped out. Anyway, let's go.
Before we talk about a creature's traits and how they might vary, let's just watch these creatures live their lives for a few generations.
Yeah, let's see. I'm actually really interested, Chad. I'm not going to lie. Okay. Yeah, what do you do when they start multiplying?
So we see that these creatures can manage to live over several generations in this environment. And the number of creatures actually expanded over the first few days and then leveled off. So the population started out below the carrying capacity, but once the population expanded to around 95, the creatures really had to compete with each other for food. Once we allow mutations, the variation will give some creatures an advantage and we'll start seeing some natural selection of traits. So let's turn on mutations and see what happens. Let's start out with one trait varying, speed.
Yep,
Each
there you
time
go.
a creature replicates, there's a chance that a mutation will give the new creature a slightly lower or slightly higher speed. Speed is great because it allows you to beat other creatures to the food. But speed will also have a cost. Moving quickly is less efficient. If a creature's speed is doubled, it will cover a distance in half the time, but use twice as much energy to go that distance.
Right.
Faster creatures can't forage over as much ground as slower creatures, so they might not find food before running out of energy. If we unpause this world with speed mutations turned on, what would you predict? When the faster creatures start appearing, will they sprint to victory?
See, what's interesting though is, and sorry to get real quiet there, I told you I'm really interested. What's interesting though is what happens when someone when there's a mutation where they are factored for that speed. In theory, sure, like cheetahs, I guess, aren't the symbol. I'm sorry. Of stamina as well. Not saying stamina is complete shit, but relative, you know what I'm getting at. In theory, though, they know how to run at those speeds, right? So what happens when there's a blob that can move at those speeds while retaining the average stamina? Them niggas just kind of solo.
Creatures prove the virtue of patience. It could also turn out that the current creatures have struck a good balance, or it could be that being fast and being slow are both good strategies.
Right, just
it's
not in the
hard
middle.
to say at this point. We'll just have to unpause and see what the nature of the situation is.
Let's see.
And let's speed it up a bit so we can see more generations.
Okay. Yeah, so faster wins. Yeah, so that's what I thought. I was like, there's no fucking way that being slower is gonna work. Getting your food and making it to the edge is the name of the game, which, by the way, I obviously was overthinking in terms of having them potentially spawn in the middle. But yeah, getting their food there and back is the name of the game. There's no way that being slower and more methodical matters. You just want to cover as much ground as possible and get back. Even if in theory you die earlier, it's worth a risk because you don't starve.
All right. So it turns out to be worth sacrificing efficiency for speed in this environment.
For sure.
Or at least the initial speed value I picked was slower than optimal. This is our first example of natural selection.
Right.
We didn't know the best speed value going in, but the creatures mutated and somewhat randomly tried out different speed values, and then through natural selection, the population evolved to have a higher average speed over time.
Correct.
And I want to double down on that last point. The population evolved. As much as we all love Pokemon, individuals don't evolve in the biological sense of the word.
Yeah.
Populations evolve over generations.
Correct.
One interesting thing to notice is that as the average speed of the population went up, the number of creatures in any given day tended to go down.
Correct.
The creatures
because
now
it's going to be harder
compete
to survive because it's almost like A, literally less food, B, the energy, so they're dying faster, or C, and more importantly, maybe one fast motherfucker because they need the energy is eating more. So yeah, they're able to get their food more, but now they need to eat more. And especially considering how there's another motherfucker just like them. So now instead of maybe 10 slow ass green blobs that only need one a day, and we only got fucking 4 or even 2 fast blobs, but they need to eat 5 times a day or some shit.
Hi, my name's Itzmelon, and you're watching TSO Bald, aka TSO Bad Anime Takes, aka TSO Sage!
And are less efficient overall. This is part of the meaning of the term selfish gene. We'll talk more about genes and the term selfish gene in future videos, but for now, just notice that even though we might call these creatures better because they did better in the competition for survival, the total population size actually went down.
Yep.
Selection didn't happen.
You made them
for
a
the good of the
stronger
species as a
animal
whole.
with less of
But
them.
again, more on that in future videos. All right, now that we've gotten our feet wet with one varying trait, let's add 2 more. Size and sense.
Yep, let's do it.
Size. Size scales the creature in all 3 dimensions. The benefit of size is that it lets you eat other creatures if you're at least 20% larger than them.
Oh, I didn't think he was going to allow like violence in terms of eating each other. I guess that would symbolize them fighting. So I probably should have saw that coming. But I thought size would be like a bully factor thing where the blobs wouldn't be eating each other, but they just little bro them the fuck out the way or bounce them back or something to represent that, hey, bro, this big ass nigga, he was getting his food. Okay. So in theory, the size, maybe this, obviously the animals just wouldn't start eating each other. Some would, of course. But in this case, size is whether you want to visualize it as the animal is now losing a fight and or they just ate it. Okay, I'm with it. Let's do it.
Getting an extra food source is great if you can pull it off, but being big costs a lot of energy.
Right.
The energy cost depends on the cube of a creature's size value. I could have picked any function for the energy cost, I suppose, but I made it a cube because volume scales.
So they're going to be eating a lot. Oh my God, a giant
fast
fast nigga is going to die fast as
The
fuck
total
or
energy
dominate.
cost of a creature's movement each
Yeah,
time step.
my prediction here is either there's going to be even less blob niggas, but they're all big and fast, or it's going to be a dominance of the shorter, fast ones. I don't think these big ass niggas survive that long.
Is equal to the cube of the creature's size.
I would go
times
with the
square
first
of
take over the
creature's
second,
speed
but
from before,
I wouldn't be
which
surprised.
you might notice is reminiscent of the formula for kinetic energy. But anyway, it's especially
That'd be
costly
math.
to be both big and fast. And on top of this cost, smaller creatures will actually run from creatures big enough to eat them.
Right.
So to benefit from being big, you need at least some speed. Long story short, being big is high risk and high reward.
Yeah, like I said, it's gonna be either very, very small amount of big fast niggas, or it's gonna be like a fuck ton of small fast niggas. Duh, no shit. But let me rephrase and make it clear what I'm saying. By the end of the board, there's going to either be like maybe 10, 20 big fast niggas, or it's gonna be like one big fast nigga and like 50 smaller fast niggas. There we go. I wanted to clear that up because otherwise it sounded like a no shit Sherlock.
The third trait is sense. Each creature has a certain sensing distance at which it can sense food or other creatures. Once a creature sees food or a smaller creature, it can move straight toward it.
Oh, bet.
Or if it sees a bigger creature, it can run away.
Okay.
This sensing distance gets larger as a creature's sense trait goes up, allowing it to avoid danger and be more efficient with its movements.
Yeah.
Each time step,
Yeah,
the
with
creature pays
sense,
a movement
yeah,
energy
my
cost,
parlay
which
staying the
depends on
exact
its
same.
size and
That just
speed,
kinda confirmed that
and
it
a
might be more
sensing
small
energy
niggas,
cost,
though.
which is just equal to its sense trait.
That might confirm for me that it's probably gonna. I'm actually gonna say my second parlay is my main one. My backup is gonna be the big fast ones. I do think with sense being a factor, especially if sense can be broadened, it's just gonna be a lot of small fast niggas, a couple of big bodies, but a lot of small fast niggas getting the fuck out the way with sense and speed.
All right, so now that we have 3 traits, let's rewind to before we turned on speed mutations and instead turn on mutations for all 3 traits.
Right, let's
To
go.
keep track of what's happening to all 3 traits at once, we're going to use this 3-dimensional graph. Each dot in the graph represents one creature, and the position of the dot depends on the speed, size, and sense values for
Here we
that
got that.
creature.
Yeah, we ain't that dumb.
All right, let's see how it goes.
Let's go. Okay, so speed still matters. Speed still matters. They're getting a little bigger though.
So what can we say about the results?
Yeah, speed.
The first thing I noticed is
more
that
mixed,
the average
though.
speed is significantly different from what it was when only
Yeah.
speed was allowed to vary, which is a little bit surprising because we didn't explicitly change anything about how speed
Yeah,
works.
it wasn't as
with-
dominant as I thought it would be, but it's still more so of staying that jack of all trades. Oh, that's interesting actually. So I was just straight up wrong. It turned out to be more jack of all trades because there's some big, there's some faster, but for the most part, it's in the middle.
Sense and size able to vary, different creatures were able to appear. The
Okay.
creature's environment includes all the creatures around it, and for whatever reason, speed just wasn't as valuable this time
Yeah,
around.
so it just kept it in the middle.
And there's one other thing I noticed. When I first ran the simulation, I thought there would be a pretty intense selection toward creatures with higher sense, because sense informs everything else the creature does,
That
and
shit
it
didn't
doesn't
matter
cost
at
very
all.
much. But instead, sense is fairly spread out and centered roughly around the starting value.
Yeah.
That's the thing about natural selection. It doesn't care what I or anyone else thinks is best. It just does what it does.
Yeah.
All right, one last simulation. Let's see what happens if we change the environment more explicitly. Let's go to 10 food each day.
Oh.
It's pretty clear that this won't be able to support the population of about 50 creatures we currently have. So the number of creatures will go down, but what else will happen? I don't know. We'll just have to see.
Okay. Yeah. It's gonna turn into a blobby blob.
Okay, well, apparently the creatures that thrived with 100 food just aren't able to cut it with
Just fucking die. Yeah. So they're too average. Okay. Yeah. So maybe the extreme versions thrive here.
only 10, even though there should be enough for, say, 5 to 10 creatures.
Yeah.
So it looks like if it's going to be possible to survive with only 10 food, there's going to have to be some time for the population to adjust.
Yeah.
So instead, let's do this. We'll rewind to before we reduce the food, and then every 2 days we'll put out 1 less piece of food until eventually we're only
There we
putting out
go.
10 pieces
Yeah,
of
let's
food
try
each
that.
day.
Yeah, I think that's gonna lead to the bigger fast ones now. Yeah, that's gonna go big fast. Yeah.
All right.
Oh, it was the opposite. It was just a bunch of speed demons.
So it's not too
the speed
surprising
demons.
that in a lower food environment, things aren't as crowded.
It's speed demons. Damn.
And being
I thought
big-
it would be big fast because at that point you need to rely on each other as food. So I thought it would just be like very few but big fast niggas. Nah, it's just speed demons. Okay.
Big just isn't worth it anymore. Sense, on the other hand, became super valuable now that a low sense creature can easily go a whole day without seeing anything
Yeah.
and die. And now speed is actually really valuable again.
Yeah, for sure.
This surprised
Yeah, I
me,
knew speed
actually.
would be
I thought in
valuable.
this
I
sparse
just thought they would
environment
also
that
value the
efficiency
size
would
and not
be
give a
king,
fuck about
making
sense.
both size and speed go down. But apparently speed is actually more valuable.
This is crazy.
So again,
our projections
can't
are
predict
ass for this.
So other than reiterating the fact that I don't know what's going to happen, what can this teach us? Well, to put it plainly, the environment matters. A
Yeah.
lot. Reducing the amount of food didn't just reduce the number of creatures, it totally changed which creatures exist.
Correct.
You'll often see evolution depicted as this march toward more and more advanced or complex or higher creatures, but that's not how it is at all. The only thing
What,
that
my
matters is
goat?
how well a
My
creature is
glorious
adapted
king?
to its environment.
Wait, what? Wait. Why does he have M on his head?
Okay,
he Luigi
so
brother now?
Before we go, let's do a quick recap. Even with this relatively simple environment we created, we were able to see some important principles in action.
Okay.
But we're not done yet. In the next few videos, we'll keep exploring natural selection by trying to see how some more complicated and even counterintuitive traits can be favored.
Yep, there we go. Yeah, part 2 I'll definitely do with chat as well. Part 2 is gonna be fire. Yeah, cause what does that matter when like instead of eating to reproduce, we get more realistic with it or they're a mammal. And it's just, hey gang, we gotta survive on our own. But then there's people that wanna eat your babies and shit like, yeah, here we go, yeah.
See you then.
That'll be fire. I like that one. I like that. That was fun. I like that one. Take care, stay blessed. I like videos like that. We're gonna do that with everybody. Yeah. Still working on that project. Shout out to Majin. Bye!